we're the misfits, that we can take all of the bad things in our lives and turn it into wrath, turn it into anger, but we can now use it for good. We can use it for something. We can use it to grow. We can use this hate for something good. Today's training is going to be on how your perceived identity will hold you back from being the first millionaire in your bloodline. It's a very, very powerful subject matter if you're willing to listen to it, take all the guidance, take all the feedback, run with it, and then allow yourself to rebrand yourself, reinvent yourself, re-identify as somebody new, somebody who can achieve all of the goals that they want. But it's really helping people understand how to think, especially when it comes to the earlier stages of entrepreneurship, right? Like getting to the point where you are no longer this person that you've been seeing in the mirror for the past decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, whatever's true for you, and allowing yourself to then become this new person, this better version of yourself who can become a millionaire. And I'm going to share with you some of the stories of, things that I've experienced throughout my life. I'm going to share with you, for anybody that finds it valuable, some of the lessons, the hardships that I've experienced on my journey, especially just from the past few years, and how I have now become the person who can change the trajectory of my bloodline, and how I was able to move through all of these thoughts, these emotions, these feelings, and really the identity side of things. Because I do believe that this is a big factor into becoming, the first millionaire in your bloodline. So I want to start off with a little bit of a story of my background so you kind of understand that I wasn't this guy. Many years ago, or basically throughout the duration of my life, I was never this guy. I was a very interesting child, and I became a very interesting adolescent, and then I became a very interesting adult because I actually was the complete opposite of who's talking to you right now. So let's go back a little bit, and let's go back to when I was a kid. When we first moved here from the Philippines, right? So I'm from a third world country, and my father brought us over here from the Philippines. He brought us here through his skill set, which was art. That's basically his bread and butter. That's how he built and established a life for us here. And so moving here from a third world country, I was always this, as I reflect back on it, this fun, loving kid, this kid that can dream about anything and never thought about the dark side of the world. I always thought about how beautiful, how exciting, how awesome life is. And that's what allowed me to really step into this version of myself that was just always happy. Like I was just always happy running around all the time. I had like my bald little head. I wore these weird little polos with like dinosaurs and lizards on them. I just didn't care. I was having so much fun. And as the years go by, this is going into my teen years, like right a couple years before that, my family experienced a hardship, which was our family going through a divorce. And this is where everything kind of turned for me. I went from this like super loving, open-hearted kid to this colder, angrier version of myself. And if you've ever been through divorce, or you know somebody that's been through a divorce, friends or family, especially the children of the divorce, from a psychological and emotional standpoint, it's one of the hardest things to move through, especially from a young age, because that thing imprints onto you for the rest of your life. It becomes this lens of how you perceive everything when it comes to money, when it comes to self-worth, when it comes to relationships. There's just a lack of trust that's there, and the lack inability to see past it. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about identity. But before I get into that, this lens is the same lens that got me to start drinking. I think I started drinking alcohol at the age of either 13 or 14. Right around that time, because I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, trying to fill this void, I started doing drugs. And because of all of these things that I was doing, and this happened for years and years and years, I almost dropped out of high school. I decided in one moment that if I continued on this path, I will probably end up dead somewhere. If I continue on this path, I will probably hang out with the wrong crowd, and that will be the last bad decision I will make. If I continue on this path, I will be the worst brother, son, person that I could ever have possibly been inside of my life. And I chose that I wanted to go a different direction. That's why I joined the military. The military took this hardened boy, right? This boy that loved the world, loved everything about the world, and went cold, shut the world out, hated the world. I didn't want to do with life anymore. I didn't want to be a part of life anymore. And this experience through the military changed me. It shaped me. It helped me meet people from all over the world. For whatever reason, I thought that I was the only person in the world going through hardship. And these people that I met from all walks of life that were on the same mission as I was showed me that some people had it harder than I did. There's some people that didn't have it as hard as me, but we were all just trying our best. And through the iterations, through the time in service, for even didn't understand these lessons up until my last few years here in entrepreneurship as I continued digging and digging and digging. But through that time, it actually amplified my anger. It actually showed me that we're the misfits, that we can take all of the bad things in our lives and turn it into wrath, turn it into anger. But because of it being related to the military, we can now use it for good. We can use it for something. We can use it to grow. We can use this hate for something good. And as I continued that journey of hate, I became then this bulldog of a person, and I hurt people. I hurt people emotionally. I shut myself off, and I was just this guy. I became and identified as this Marine, this machine gunner, and I really carried that because the old identity that I had was weakness. Before the Marine Corps, I was just the kid that talked a lot, that had some entrepreneurial success just because I tried some things, dabbled in some things. But I was, in my mind, weak, in my mind, broken. So I had to choose between two identities. I had to choose this guy that had a beautiful family, that had everything he could possibly want, who was able to move from poverty into the United States. I could be this guy that lost everything. I could be this guy that lost his entire family. I could be this guy that was doing drugs, drinking at a young age, bouncing from place to place to place, just trying to find a home. I could be that guy, or I can be this Marine that was just angry at the world. And I chose to be the Marine that was angry at the world because at least I would have a level of control. And so without even realizing it, I was starting to take on these identities, these hats that I thought were very important to me being able to live through and survive life. So why am I telling you these stories in this story? Is because this is very true when it comes to becoming the first millionaire in your bloodline. This is becoming the first entrepreneur, maybe in your family. It's a new identity. And you have to give yourself space to be able to become that. But what happens for a lot of people, at least for what happened to me, was I held too closely to the past. I put the past on a pedestal. I said that if I continue to be the past, then I am worthy. I am this person because I've been through this hurt, and my hurt is my value. And I have to continue hurting if I want to be valuable to people. Little did I know that's not valuable to people. What's valuable to people is being able to distill and extract all of the learning lessons from the failures, from the hurt, from the pain of your life, and creating a teaching moment for yourself, executing on that teaching moment, becoming a better version of yourself, and then sharing that story. That story is what's valuable to people. And when we think about what it takes to be a millionaire, and you'll hear this from millionaires from all over the world, it's helping more people solve enough problems. Because if you help enough people solve enough of their problems, then at the end of the day, your problem will be solved. If you help enough people change their lives, your life will change. And that's when things started changing for me. I started becoming more mission-oriented. I allowed myself to re-identify as this person that wasn't really in it for the money. Yes, my goal is to make a lot of money in this world, but what's the driving force for the money? What am I going to do with the money? What's the why behind the money? And when I started understanding that there are actually stages and levels to this stuff, that's when I realized the only person that's ever held me back from really taking these quantum leaps in my business as an entrepreneur is myself. It's this old version of myself that I thought I had to be. It's this brokenness that I thought I had to continue to show people that, hey, I was broken, I'm broken, I'm broken, and be proud of it for some reason. When I realized that I just needed to let that go, that allowed me to open up space in my own heart and my own mind, so that way I can change. So I can build upon the foundation in which I would be proud of. And when I realized this is why I love doing what I do now, helping a lot of people, is because sometimes we get in our own way. When we want to change, when we want to make more money, we go back to the past. We hold on to that identity. Well, my parents told me that the past or the money is not good. And from the past, that's just what they keep talking about. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money's hard to come by. We don't make a lot of money. We didn't make a lot of money from the Philippines. And so any amount of money that we make now is good enough. Don't want more than this. This is fine. Don't show your money. Don't talk about money. Don't do any of that stuff because you shouldn't be doing that stuff. And at least for me, as I heard that, I became a smaller version of myself. I became the guy that was uncomfortable talking about money. I thought, money, the topic of money was always this thing that you just don't talk about. When it came to buying nice things for yourself or spending money on yourself, this is where you have to nickel and dime now. I was taught, right? There's no need to buy fancy things. There's no need to have a setup like this. There's no need for any of that stuff because you got to keep making money because, again, money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard. And so when we think about all of these different things that we're taught, this is how our first identity is kind of created, right? It's not really us. It wasn't Phil that decided to think and perceive things this way. It was people who were trying their very best to do the best of their ability, the best way they knew how in those moments. And they tried to shape me based off of their lessons. What happens, though, a lot of the time, is if your goal is to be the very first millionaire in your bloodline, these lessons, even if they came with the intention of love and with the intention to change you, are the very lessons that will hold you back. Because if that is your identity, if that's your belief, then how can you ever become wealthy? How can you ever change the trajectory of your bloodline if you truly believe money's scarce? Money doesn't grow on trees. And so when we think about the identity, right, and why we have to let it go, it's because when we say, I want to make more money, but we also believe that I identify as the person that believes that money is scarce, then we have that confliction. And when we have that confliction, then we don't take the necessary actions to produce the results we say we want. And so what happens there? We start self-sabotaging. We start doing things and taking actions to prove our old identity right. Because when we start doing new things, then what do we have? We have naysayers. We have people, even in our family, people that love us, that will tell us for our own protection, hey, don't do that thing. Don't do entrepreneurship. That's different. Nobody's done that before. Nobody's been successful. Most people fail. Don't do it. And there's a part of us that wants to say, that's true. That is so true. Not a lot of people make it. Not a lot of people succeed. Not a lot of people become millionaires. So why should I even try? My family's protecting me. My friends are protecting me. I should listen. And when we think like that, that's not really us, because what we wanted, what I wanted, was change, was development, was growth, was to push the boundaries of what's possible. But instead, I chose this identity that listened to people that have not walked the path that I want to walk. So you can imagine over time how that affects your confidence, how that affects your belief that something is possible. And again, it's just all from the best intentions of your friends and family wanting to just protect you. But at the end of the day, does a millionaire take advice from people that are less successful than them? And I don't mean that in a bad way, not one bit. But I want you to understand this is why we have to start shifting some of those perspectives. And for me, that is what changed the game for me. I had to understand that these people that shaped me in the beginning wanted the best for me. But I'm also choosing to take that knowledge and wisdom and put it where it needs to be, right here. And I'm going to let it go for now. And I'm going to go over there so that way I can learn some more things that are going to get me to where I want to go. And again, when you think about it, if you're watching this right now and it's resonating with you, think about the time where you decided, when you were by yourself, when there was no input to change how you're looking at it, and you decided you want to make more money, and you decided, I'm going to go do that thing that I've always wanted to do. I've always been scared to do it, right? Just like me being scared to start a podcast, right? Like that's the most vulnerable I could possibly be. It's just me, my voice, and the camera, or OBS, and it's scary. It can be scary because it's your most vulnerable state. But let's just pretend you're back at that moment. You decided, I'm gonna be the first millionaire in my family. In that moment, there was hope. In that moment, there was belief. In that moment, there was a part of you that could see that version of yourself. And then you tell your friends, and then you tell your family. And then all of that belief, all of that hope, instead of it being this huge, bright light that's supposed to charge you up so that way you can attack the hill. This is your new mission in life. Instead of you going full force and energy, we grab the e-brake and we pull it up, because then we listen to the people that have never done this, and we take what they say as truth. And they say, hey, I love that you're dreaming so big, but don't dream too big. Don't think too far that way, because what if you fail? And then now you're thinking, instead of I hope and I believe that this is going to happen, I have full belief that I'm going to change the game here. Now it's, well, what if I do fail? What if they're right? What if they judge me? I'm judging myself right now. I haven't even made six figures in my life. So how am I going to be a millionaire? I'm barely affording rent. I'm barely affording my mortgage. I'm barely affording these things in life. How the hell is somebody like me going to become a millionaire? Again, you have your open hand and you say, hey, I'm going to take that. I'm going to hold on to that because I know you're trying to protect me. I know that you mean well, and you probably have a lot more knowledge and wisdom than I do. So I'm just going to believe you. And now that 50% that you had remaining becomes 25%. Everything's muddied now. It's hard to see the vision again. And now, because of the belief that you have in this identity of a person, you start believing those things. You start believing that it's hard. You start believing that it's going to take a long time, because day 1 and 2 were hard. So imagine how long this hardship is going to last. It's going to take years. It's going to take a lifetime. I'm never going to get it. By doing that and instilling that into your mind, you start creating this identity of a person who, it's hard to make money. It's hard to make progress. It's going to take a long time. I might fail, because most people do. Nobody in my family or bloodline has ever been successful at this. So why should I try? And that 25%, as time goes by, works its way back to 0. And now you embody this identity of a person who does no longer believe that they can be successful, that they can be millionaires. And it's this ongoing cycle. And then when people try to change us, when people want the best for us, when people believe in us more than we believe in ourselves, then we say, no, I'm different. Things are different for me. I cannot be as successful as you. You've had it better than me. You've had opportunity that I will never have. And it feels that way. That feels like truth. But is it? Is it the truth? But little do they know, little did I know, that in those moments when we make those decisions, that is our subconscious trying to protect us and say, hey, you're growing in a different direction we've never been before. Let's go back to old ways. Let's believe we have no power. And again, that just refortifies, reinstills in us that we are just not those people. And then a month goes by. We never go back to the program. We never reach back out to our coaches. 6 months goes by, and we just say, well, didn't I tell you? We can't be successful. We can't make money. We can't change our lives. And we just keep going through that process. And then a year later, we go through another course. Okay, I got the courage. I'm tired. I'm fed up with my situation. I'm tired of being this person. I'm going to invest into myself again. And we invest into another course or a coach or a mastermind or a program. And we get a little bit further this time. And maybe we get through the entire program. We're charged up. All right, good. I did better than I did last time. I consumed all of the knowledge. But now it's time to implement. It's the scary stuff that happens, so we start feeling sore. Ooh, I feel a little sore. My chest hurts. My back hurts a little bit. Ooh, my legs hurt. You know what? I need a break. I don't want to burn out. I've done more than I did before. I deserve to stop now. I deserve to rest. So that way when I do implement, I'll feel better. I'll be more confident. I'll have time to have just sat on all of the knowledge. I'll be good. And we do that. And then again, life tests us. And then we try again. But this time, because we're sore, we're like, ooh, I'm going to put in like 50% effort. I'm just going to work my way up to it. You know what I mean? It's those word tracks we have in our heads. We're just going to work our way up to it. And then we put in 50% of effort, and we produce 10% of the results we thought we were going to produce, and we get demoralized. Well, this is a little bit harder than I thought. There is nobody successful in this life that became successful without it hurting a little bit, without you having to become more than you've ever been before. There is not one person that just came upon success. When we are aware of this person, this identity that we're wearing, knowing full well that that is not truly us, That's just our programming. That's just what was instilled into us. And we understand that every single action that we take is reprogramming us for better or for worse. And we start making those changes, becoming hyper aware of ourselves, becoming extremely self aware of our actions and how our actions take away from our mission or add to the mission. And we start doing the inner work. And we continue pushing forward when things get hard. That's the stuff that people hate. It's the boring stuff. It's the hard work. It's the stuff where you don't get to experience all of the gratification. And that's why, at least to me, and why I believe I didn't put in the work, is because it was too hard. I labeled it as too hard versus, damn, I'm challenging myself more than I ever have before. This is the biggest workout I've ever done. And I love this workout because I know in the next 1, 2, 3 months, I'm going to be bigger and badder than I've ever been in my life. But I got to go through the pain. And if we learn, instead of listening to life and listening to all of these things that will happen, there's always going to be a new holiday. There's always going to be a new life thing that happens. There's always going to be, if you have children or you want children, there's going to be another child. If there's going to be another sickness, there will be. There'll probably be another pandemic, another recession, another thing. And we can use those things as excuses, and we can continue to wear that identity of a person that does that. Or we can make the decision that I don't believe that I need to be afraid of a recession. I don't believe that I need to be afraid of not succeeding, because I am very confident I will succeed, whether it's now or in the future. It will happen in my life. And we start choosing to take the path that 99% of people will never take, understanding that that is the same path that successful people take. And we're willing to walk the path alone because nobody else in our blood, nobody else in our family walks that path. What we have to realize is at some point on that journey, on that road, we're going to come across somebody else who felt exactly that same way. We're going to come across somebody else who felt alone in their journey. We're going to feel like we connect with this person. This person kind of gets it a little bit, which is weird because I've never met this person before. And sometimes you might hear in entrepreneurship, you know, there's a lot of growth-driven individuals. There's people with this beautiful mindset, never want to give up. And then you start investing into communities and masterminds versus programs and courses. And it's the people that you surround yourself with that changes you a little bit. And that's when the game starts changing. Because now you have some of this hardship you've experienced in entrepreneurship. And because of those hardships, now you have lessons, you have wisdom. But you didn't go back to old ways, and somehow, some way you found your way to this community. And inside of this community are people just like you, normal people just like you. And maybe a large portion of them haven't made it yet, but they made it past what 99% of the world will never get past, which is letting go of the self that didn't believe this right here, right now, regardless of the results, was possible. So I hope that this is adding value to you in any shape, way, or form. But I want you to understand identity, the perceived identity, the victim is not you. That is just the programming that was created, that was instilled in you throughout time. And you just didn't have any power to change that. You didn't know any better to have your own opinion about it, but you do now. If you've been watching, I don't know how long this video is, 40 minutes or so, and it's resonating with you, then you know that there's a version of yourself that does believe that it's possible. The question is, are you willing to now let that person take command and control, take the wheel, and take in a very uncomfortable direction, uncomfortable journey? But that person has already decided they will be the first millionaire in their bloodline. They believe that we are built. We are not manufactured this way. You can build the person that you want to become. You're in the process of becoming, but you just have to constantly believe in that every single day. You have to decide, I am that person every day, regardless of everything that comes up that's negative. I must commit to that decision of being that person every single day, and I must make absolutely no excuses no matter what life throws in my way. I will make no excuses as to why I will not succeed in this mission. All right, so with that being said, I hope this was valuable to somebody out there. And I hope that you take the time to reflect on this and create this in your own mind into a learning lesson you can now share with anybody and everybody that you come across, and continue passing the torch of knowledge, because I do believe that if we do that enough, we will change the world.